Hi, I'm Bob Winstead, and this is a workshop on self-care for pastoral leaders and church administrators, church staff members. In this unusual year of a global pandemic, we're doing things differently, and as you can tell, I am filming this in my home in Athens, Georgia, to share with you for the virtual TCN conference this year, and maybe beyond. But this is quite an interesting time, and we'll work on it together. There is a PowerPoint presentation that goes with this presentation, and that will be made available to you, and you'll be able to download it and print it and follow along if you like. And I will try to follow it very closely over the next 40 minutes as we share together. Self-care. What is self-care? I maintain there are three things that we need to say before we even begin to define it. Number one, it's more important for you to take care of yourself than it is to take care of other people. Now, I know some people will disagree with me on that one, but I think it's highly important that we remember that how we care for ourselves has everything in the world to do with how we're able to care for others. In fact, I don't think if we take care of ourselves poorly, we've got the best self to give anyone else anyway. Number two, most church professionals do not take care of themselves in any kind of an intentional way. That we have a tendency not to be organized and to be rather haphazard about the way we care for ourselves when we work in the church. I'm not sure why that is. We're going to scratch around and see if we can't get at that. And then the last thing is, number three, if you do not care for yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. Not your mother, not your father, not your spouse, nor anyone else that you know is going to take care of you if you don't take care of yourself. And so you're the most important person. The first attitude we need to change in your self-care is yours and mine, for me. So what do we do with self-care? Self-care it requires a commitment that we make that we're going to be our best selves for God. That we are going to not squander what God has given us in terms of our own health and energy and our strength and our intellect and our physical bodies and our mental energy and our spiritual energy. All those things are part of who we are and how we do what it is we do in ministry, how we work in the life of the church. And it makes all the difference if we do the best to optimize that health. Self-care begins with our attitude. We have to think about who we're going to be. And self-care means we're going to focus on activities so that we can be the best for others that are in our lives. And also, self-care is not a one-time thing. It's a lifelong journey. And we're going to work at this over a long period of time. The bottom line is this: don't ask the Lord to guide your footsteps if you're not willing to move your feet. Self-care. You've got to get to it yourself if you want God to help you make yourself, rebuild yourself, strengthen yourself so that you can be your best self. Let's get at a definition for a minute. Self-care. It's a way of living. It's a process, if you will, that incorporates certain kinds of behaviors so that you can be refreshed, so that you can replenish your personal energy, so that you can replenish your motivation, and so that you can grow as a person. It's in all the aspects of our lives. As we'll see in a minute, we're going to work our way through a series of aspects of our lives. Self-care, it's the foundation for a healthy physical, mental, spiritual life. And we have to do it for ourselves. It's care taken by individuals toward their own well-being. Stay fit, maintain good physical health, meet social and psychological needs, and maintain optimum spiritual health. All those things are part of what it means for us to take care. Now, there are some who would tell you that it's selfish to put yourself first, that you should put others, Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. You know, the old acronym that goes with joy. I'm not sure that's really right. And it's certainly, we need to be very careful when we talk about being a servant of others and we understand what that means for us. If you don't nurture yourself, you won't be able to keep up your own strength and resolve and your motivation and your inner resources that you're going to need. You cannot give somebody something out of your cup if your cup is empty. The Lord will fill your cup to overflowing, but you've got to do some things to make that possible. The congregation is depending on you to be your best self. But you might say, well, I just don't have time for that. I've got too much else to do that's important for me to take time to take care of myself. Well, let me ask you this. Do a self-care audit sometime. Sit down and draw out a typical week or a typical couple of weeks, or you could do a whole month if you've got the time. And where you put time in there for things that are important for you. And we're going to talk about those important things, but just let me give you a couple of examples. Preparing healthy meals rather than eating food on the go in a hurry, which typically, most often, are not healthy. Taking time to get some exercise, to walk, to get up and move around. I wear one of these watches that tells me when it's time for me to get up, and it'll buzz on my arm, it'll vibrate on my arm, and tell me it's time for me to stand and it's time for me to walk or move. And it's good for me because I get sitting at the desk and I get caught up in what I'm doing and forget to get up and do what I need to do. Time care management gurus will tell you that you take your personal calendar and you put self-care appointments in your calendar and you mark them on the calendar, and so that there's time for things to happen. That people who take care of themselves don't eat lunch at their desk unless it's an emergency, but not as a regular habit. They get up and go somewhere, even if it's into the next room or into the break room or into the church kitchen or wherever that happens to be, the fellowship hall. But they get up and move. Or even if you pack your lunch and bring it, which is a very healthy thing to do because you can choose exactly what ingredients go into it. And then you just get up and move to another location in the church and sit down to eat. What a difference that makes if you're careful with what you bring in your lunch and how you eat it. Those are just a couple of examples to get up and move around a little bit. We can talk more about mental and spiritual and financial and family, and we're going to talk about a lot of aspects of our own self-care. Unfortunately, society will tell us and reward us for not taking care of ourselves. They'll tell us, oh, you're so good. Look how hard you work for the church, and we just couldn't do this without you, and you're such a wonderful person. And they keep telling us over and over again until we start to believe that ignoring our own health is good for the church. Don't buy into that. That's not true. That's not a good idea at all. Actually, what you want to do is you want to model how to care for yourself so that anybody in the church who sees you would go, I want to take care of myself the way she does. Or I want to take care of myself the way he does. Have you ever heard a pastor say, well, I've never had a vacation. I just don't take days off. I work every day, and they say it with a sense of pride. And I want to say anytime I hear that, what is wrong with you? You need days off. You need weeks off, vacation time. You need to get away. Even when they had the mules in the mines, when they were mining with mules pulling coal cars, they let the mule out of the mine for a full day every week so the mule wouldn't go blind. We just have to take care of ourselves. So, what are the things that bring stress in your life? How does that come up there, and how do you deal with stress? Good self-care helps you deal with the stress of your life and the stress of working in your church. In your church, I don't know what it's like, but I bet I do. I've worked in churches for 40 years, and I know what it's like when you get in the church office, when you work with church people, when you work with lay people, when you work with other staff members, when you work with clergy. I understand all of that. And I'm telling you, you're going to need to take care of yourself if you're going to make it. So I want to talk to you about 8 aspects. And these are the social health, the spiritual health, the physical health, the family health, the professional health, the financial health, community health, and mental health. And so we're going to take these one at a time and see where we go with that. So let's start, first of all, with social health. What does it mean for us to take care of ourselves socially? Certainly, we have the pressure of church responsibilities, and they pull and push on us all the time. It takes a damage on our family and our friend relationships when we get the church responsibilities out of balance in our lives. Good time management is essential. Being able to schedule things. My wife and I try to have a date night every week, and we schedule it. It goes on the calendar. It's written in. It's not necessarily the same night every week because things change, but we try to make sure that we spend time with each other and for each other. And once it's on the calendar and someone calls me up and says, Pastor, well, I need to get to see you. Or how about Thursday night? Can we have a quick meeting? And I'll look and I'll say, I'm sorry, I've already got something on the calendar that can't be changed. How about if we do it next Sunday afternoon or next Monday night? And find a way to say, it's already on the calendar. It's already there. So we have to keep our social life in a healthy place. Possible resources you might use: a colleague, a mentor, or just a friend that you call up and say, here's where it's going right now. I just need to talk. And find a way to keep that going. I encourage you to be a part of a professional group. If you don't have a TCN chapter somewhere close that you can work with, maybe you know 1 or 2 other church administrators or church business managers in other churches that you might just have a social time with. Maybe have lunch with them once a month, or just try to find a way for you to connect with them. Good social health it makes all the difference in the world. Let's talk about our spiritual health. And our spiritual health, you know as well as I do that church work can sometimes take the religion right out of you. Yes, I just said that out loud. I would appreciate you not telling anybody I said that. But sometimes it'll just take the religion right out of you. Sometimes you want to go to Jesus and just say, Lord, these people. Here's what I recommend. Number 1, you got to have a strong prayer devotional life. You got to find some way to bolster yourself and strengthen yourself and be able to push forward and know that it's going to be okay. Strengthen your prayer life. Every morning, every afternoon, evening, whenever. Read scripture. You know, one of the interesting things we can do because we work for the church is that we can read the Bible at our desk and call it work. Not many people have that option. So if you can read scripture and have a little prayer time, if you have a staff devotional, that's a good thing. Because going to worship is not always a place where we get a lot of spiritual growth, because people treat us like we're at work. How many of you worship in the same place where you work? And if you do, you know what I'm talking about. People will ask you questions on Sunday that relate to your work Monday through Friday. And they expect you to be able to answer them. They think you're still working for them. Let me make a suggestion. During this COVID-19 period, where many of us are having online worship or we're having limited worship and social distancing, try to find a new rhythm for your spiritual life and how you feed yourself. There's so many resources online that you can go and listen to, and you can go and worship as a parishioner, as a participant, without having to be in charge of anything. Avail yourself of those things. It's pretty much on demand right now, and it's perfect for us. It'll help us tremendously. Now your physical health. And this is one you knew I was going to get to, and for you and me both, this is one of the toughest ones in our world today. Our busy lives are triggers for imbalance in our lives, for a way that we just can't function, and they sabotage us doing well. I used this as an example earlier, but let me share this. For good physical health, you're going to have to be intentional about exercise, nutrition, sleep, rest, time off, and understanding stress. We'll talk more about stress later, but let me put all those pieces together. You can't fix problems. What you do is you change lifestyles. And changing lifestyles is not simple. But preparing your own lunch and bringing it to work with you gives you the option of preparing something that is healthy for you to eat. But that doesn't mean you can't occasionally treat yourself and go out to lunch or go out with colleagues or church members and enjoy that. But let that be the exception rather than the rule. The other thing it will do, just as an aside, is it'll also save you some money. But prepare your own food and put things in there that you ought to eat. You know what those are. I'm not going to go through diet. I'm not a nutritionist, but you know what it is. And you know what your own health concerns and issues are and what you should and shouldn't do. I'm not advocating that you do something drastic. I'm just saying fix your lunch. You know, and when you come home, prepare meals or work with your spouse and say I'd like for us to eat things that we have to take some time to fix, and not something we pull out of the freezer and throw in the oven. You know, when I was a child, one of the things that was became very popular were TV dinners. They had little sections in. Most of them were in little foil trays. And you'd pop them in the oven, you know, and you'd heat them up, and you'd pull them out, and you'd set them on a TV tray, and you'd watch TV. And we got into that habit in my family for I think that lasted for about a month at the most, where we did that several nights a week. And finally, my mother and father said, we're not doing that anymore. See, that's a terrible way to live. They both grew up eating, meals on the table, and they thought this is important for our family. And so in my family, I have 3 siblings, and so the 6 of us would sit down and we ate. My wife and I prepare meals and we sit down at the table because we like to do that, and we know it's, yeah, we're not fastidious about what goes into every, we're not organic, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. We're not vegan, and you certainly, if that's what you do, I think that's great. But we are people who take fresh fruits, vegetables, meats, and prepare our food from them, and it's so much better for us. And that does control sodium content and some of those preservatives that are so quickly put into foods when they're prepackaged. So I encourage you, eat healthy, figure out a way to do that, whatever that means for you. Cut out the junk that's in your diet, whatever the junk happens to be. You know what it is. Exercise, move, get up and move. Do something that gets you moving, whatever that happens to be. If you've got a big parking lot at the church, don't park close to the church. Park far away and walk in. That's not a lot of walking, but it is walking every day, back and forth. Find a way to do that. And if you got to go out and and you're going to go to lunch and there's places that are not too far away, well, walk to them instead of driving to them. Just think about what can we do to make it a little bit healthier. My church is a downtown urban church, and we've got restaurants in walking distance all around. And whenever we go out somewhere, we walk to it. So it works for us. And the most important thing you can do for your health as you get older is to get a good night's sleep. And if that's a struggle for you, good diet and exercise help with your sleep. But if that's a struggle for you, talk to your doctor. Say, I'm not getting a good night's sleep. Let's talk about how I can. Because your doctor wants to help you. And I guarantee they're going to talk about diet, exercise, and sleep. You already know that. And so let me ask you this. There's a slide in the PowerPoint presentation. It asks you to do this, and I'm just going to mention it, and you do what you want to do. But call up a friend or a colleague or a neighbor and somebody other than somebody in your own household, and just discuss with them sleep, exercise, diet, and then, of course, going to see your doctor. Just talk with them. Just open the conversation and say, what do I need to do? Said, Jesus wants you to do this. God wants you to take care of yourself. And so take care of your physical body. I'll go through some of these a little bit quicker so we don't run out of time. Family. Church life responsibilities can mess up family all the time. As a pastor for many years, when my kids were growing up, we'd get in the car and I'd say, we're going to go, we're going out to dinner, or we're going to go to a movie, wherever we're going. And I said, I need to swing by the church for just a minute. I need to swing by the church for just a minute. That's what I said. And I'd tell my kids, and there were groans from the back seat. Oh, Dad, you go into church and you stay and you never come out. I said, really? I'm just going to run in and grab one thing out of my office. Yeah, right, whatever. Because they know that I can so easily get caught. Don't let church get out of balance. Don't let it mess up your family stuff. Don't let it mess up your spouse stuff. Try to keep it healthy. And then we want to talk a little bit about our professional lives and what those are. As I said earlier, be in some kind of a support group, or have some close colleagues around that do what you do at other churches, and so that they understand and you all can talk about it and connect with each other, because it's so important. Our financial health, I don't need to say a lot about that. You already know. Hopefully you have a monthly budget. Hopefully your education debt or your consumer debt does not have you drowning. If you're responsible for the finances of the church, they certainly want you to be an example of how to take care of your own finances. But if if you struggle with that, just think about, okay, what can I do? How can I help? What are the steps? If you haven't done it, I recommend some of these financial programs that we have in churches. I'll mention just a couple, but there's many out there. But Crown Financial has one, and Dave Ramsey obviously has one. There's some others like that. And those programs are helpful to church members. They're helpful to you too, if you've never done that. But finding a way to keep a good balance in your financial life. In your community life, your community involvement, I don't know if some of you are connected to Rotary, or you're connected to Kiwanis, or some other group in the community, that maybe even church members are a part of that. But if there's a way for you to be connected in the community, that's a good thing. It's a balance. It gets you out of the church walls and out into the community differently, because your role, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say your role on the staff is not only to do the work of the church for the church members, it is to be the church out in the world. Jesus didn't ask you just to keep the books, or just to keep the database, or just to manage the staff. Jesus asked you to follow him out there. And so that's part of being a good church employee, and part of good self-care is to get out and get into the community and get connected in things in the community. I know you don't have enough time, but you can do it. You can do it. And then finally, I want to talk about mental health. And you know that there's a lot of triggers for imbalance for mental health, and we can struggle with them in many different ways. For most of us, if we live our lives in any sort of a normal fashion, we're going to go through periods of grief. We're going to lose loved ones. I tell couples in premarital counseling all the time, there's going to come a time, if your life is normal, there's going to come a time when you stand by each other and bury your parents and bury each other's parents. Be ready for that. Know what that means. Stand close to each other. But there's all sorts of other things that we struggle with. We struggle in our own relationships. Some of us have been through a divorce, and we know what that feels like. Sometimes we struggle with raising our children and the pressures of that, and they can be insurmountable, it seems, at times. And so there's lots of ways that our lives mentally get challenged and emotionally get challenged. And what are the things that we can do? Certainly having a friend you can talk to, a clergy mentor or a colleague mentor, someone else that you look up to that you can just be honest with and talk to them. Having a therapist or a counselor that you talk to on a regular basis. I've done that in my life several different times, and having somebody to sit and talk to proved invaluable for me and for the life that I wanted to live in a healthy way. And also, your health plan probably has some sort of provision for you to go to counseling, and I would avail yourself of that. You know when you need a mental health day. You know when you need to say, time out. I've got to have a break here, and you know how to do that. We're going to talk about stress in just a minute, but being able to shut your office door when you can, when you just need to tune it all out, is a healthy thing. So you would want to do that. What are some physical ways that you can deal with your stress? What are some things you can do? First things is you can breathe from your diaphragm. Do you know what I mean by that? Diaphragmic breathing. That is where when you breathe in, it's not your chest that fills with air, it's your belly that fills with air. You want to breathe so that the breath is coming into your belly button. And you get breath down here, not up here, but down here. Because really what it's doing is really filling up your lungs. You don't know that, but if you concentrate on filling up your belly, that's what it'll do. And one of the best ways, if you can't feel what you want it to feel like, is to lay down on the floor on your back, or lay down on the bed on your back and breathe. And you'll automatically breathe from the diaphragm. You'll automatically, and deep breaths while you're prone will make you diaphragmically breathe. Diaphragmic breathing is what brings blood pressure down. It's what brings your heart rate down. You can just, and where it's in through the nose and out through the mouth, but just go. When they say take a deep breath, don't take a deep breath in your lungs, take it in your belly. And breathe with me. Progressive muscle relaxation. That's where you tense your muscles and then you let them relax. And you do it, and when I say progressive, you try to feel like, okay, first you're going to tighten your face. Just pull the muscles tight and then relax the muscles. And then tighten your shoulders and then relax them. And then try to tighten your arms up and then relax them. And then try to tighten your hands up and make a fist and then relax them. And if you just progressively go through your body, it'll relax you. You can sit up straight in your chair in your office, shut the office door, and you can do this. The other thing you can do is sit at your own desk chair and stretch. Now, the internet's got some great resources for things they call chair yoga, and really that's what it is. It's just stretching at your chair. But you can do that. You can take and find ways to turn in your chair and to turn back this way. I stretch every morning and I stretch every night when I get ready to go to bed. And that 10 minutes of stretching in the morning and 10 minutes of stretching at night make all the difference in the world. In fact, it helps me get to sleep faster if I stretch. And of course, get active. Get up, get doing something. When the stress goes up, if you're able to do it, go take a walk. Even if the walk is inside the church building, just go take a walk, or in the church parking lot. Just get up and go outside. Just it'll help your blood pressure go down. It'll help your stress go down. One of the psychological ways that you can deal with your stress is try visualization. This is the one where we say, close your eyes and go to your happy place. Do it with me right now. Just close your eyes. I've got mine closed. And imagine a place that if you could go there right now and not have to worry about anything, where would you go? And picture that place. And it may have something to do with the people that you'll be with. And just let the stress go. Just let the stress go. Another way, of course, of dealing with stress is humor. And my father used to say, no matter what happens, somebody somewhere will take it too seriously. Try to lighten up on yourself a little bit. Give yourself some grace. Have a little humor. Laugh at yourself. You realize, I think that humor is a precious gift from God. And then, of course, positive thinking. Give yourself positive thoughts. I like to pick a scripture verse and write it down and put it on a card, put it on my mirror in the bathroom, and we usually have something set up on my desk where I can think about it, and I put pictures of family on my desk so that when I look at those things, I remember why it is I do what I do. Because of those people. Get out and change your environment. Listen to relaxing music, whatever that is for you. Go outside. Declutter your office. Another way to deal with stress is spiritually. Pray. express gratitude, be in a Bible study, go to worship, read for yourself, read good literature that feeds your soul. Know what your stress signals are so that you can deal with them and take stress breaks. Build a support system so that you can have balance in your life. And then I want to talk for just a minute about forgiveness. Because sometimes when we need to be forgiven or when we need to forgive somebody or somebodies, that's a source of stress, and that keeps us from being all we can be. Forgiveness is not pretending that everything is fine. Forgiveness is not stuffing away your hurt feelings or condoning hurtful behavior. And it's not forgetting what happened. But forgiveness is saying, I am going to make a choice to forgive someone, or I'm going to make a choice to ask for forgiveness because I need to do that. The Bible says if you come to worship and you're going to offer your gift at the altar, and you remember that there's anything amiss between you and somebody else, go and get that fixed. And then come back and worship. Relationships are important. The weak don't forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong, Gandhi said, and he was correct about that. So, in all the aspects of your life, in your spiritual life, in your physical body, in your emotional needs, in your vocation, overall, in your work-life balance and your resources, take care of yourself. Let me make a suggestion as we get toward the end today. Make a self-care covenant. This is not a comprehensive document. Don't misunderstand me. Choose one area or one issue that you want to address and make a change in. Just pick one thing. Say, I'm going to quit drinking soda. I'm picking that one thing. It's just one piece of my nutrition. It's just one piece of my physical health. I'm not going to worry about these others over here, but I'm going to pick that thing. And for the next month, I am not going to drink soda. Cold turkey. And you decide on your plan of action, whatever it is for that one thing. And then here's the piece. You call somebody up and you get them to be your accountability partner. Not a spouse. Not a spouse, a colleague or a sibling that lives somewhere else that you have to talk to, and said, would you please call me periodically, at least once a week, and ask me how I'm doing and help me be accountable for this covenant. Just pick a covenant. Maybe it's I'm going to walk at least 30 minutes every day. Some kind of way. Or maybe you get something that counts your steps, a Fitbit or a watch or something, and you said, I'm going to walk 8,000 steps every single day the next 2 weeks, the next 3 weeks, the next month. Whatever, pick a thing, pick one thing, and do that one thing first. Don't try to do a bunch of things because it's too hard, and you won't have quick success. So pick one thing to do. Decide exactly what it's going to be, how you're going to do it, and then call somebody up. Maybe it's, I'm going to bring my lunch to work every single day, every single work day this next month. For the whole month. For the whole month. I'm going to start August the 1st, and I'm going to do that in August, all the way through. And I'm going to fix my lunch. And I'm going to bring something. And it can be leftovers, or it can be something you prepared just for lunch. And you're going to eat that for lunch every day. I'm not talking about breakfast, and I'm not talking about dinner. And you pick that thing, and you call somebody up and said, hold me accountable. Call me about 11 o'clock and ask me what you're going to eat for lunch today. And help me do this right. Because you know as well as I do, the Bible tells us Jesus came so that we could have life, and have life abundant. Abundant, rich, full life. And if you want to have that, take care of yourself. This is my prayer for you. Thanks for watching.